Matt and Luke's Sci-Fi Sanctuary.
The year is 3013. The galaxy is scintillating in the mellow light. Two galactic pilgrims seek out vistas in the samurai future to bring forth the unity of the cosmic shaman. Opening the door of the pantheon of mystics, the evil sorcerer wizard powers the engine of science, seeking to forever alter the sacred balance, traveling on effervescent balls of summer fire.
This week, Dark Phoenix.
In the year 2006, the X-Men movies finally tackle one of the most celebrated X-Men storylines ever, the Dark Phoenix saga.
Not that one.
What?
Not that one. The other one.
We're doing the Dark Phoenix though, right?
Right.
Yeah, so X-Men 3.
You got the year wrong. It's a new one. We're doing the new one.
Oh, what's the new X-Men film?
Dark Phoenix.
Oh, like you mean X3?
No, I mean Dark Phoenix.
Ah, so it's like Bryan Singer did 2 X-Men films.
There's no
but
Bryan
he didn't
Singer.
get to do Dark Phoenix. So now he's come back and did an X-Men film, and then it's like, now I can do Dark Phoenix.
No, he did that. They left again. But yes, today it's going to be 2019's Dark Phoenix with the rantings of Matt.
And the rantings of Luke.
Here for Matt and Luke's Sci-Fi Sanctuary.
This is the most recent film we've ever done, I think.
Very recent.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do have Godzilla on the mind, but this, and we'll get to some other recent things, but this is by far the most recent we've done, because we both have some X-Men geek genes rolling through, I think.
Oh, definitely.
Gene.
I also have a lot of Jean in me. I like Jean.
Yeah, she's cool, but now we often get into like the pre-production and how this film came to be, but indicates this one just kind of showed up.
Yeah, it came to be because of the inevitability of the modern movie-making machine. Like, I imagine it was one of those cases where before anyone creative had been involved, someone in a boardroom just wrote down, okay, on this date there's no big movie, so Untitled X-Men Project, enter. Okay, yeah. What comes out on this date?
I actually became aware of this one in the movie theater from a preview. I somehow didn't see any buzz about it. I guess I've been troweling the boards less, but making my 80th Avengers Endgame reference on this podcast, I was watching that one. They had the previews. My daughter's with me. I'm joking, like they have a line, oh, didn't they make that already? Lying, oh, that was a movie already. And something else, probably Disney too. And then, like, wait, they really did make this already. I didn't know it was a movie.
I became aware of it for an even dumber reason. I saw it on Sophie Turner's Instagram. I was like, oh, okay, cool. She's doing another X-Men. I kind of forgot she was in Apocalypse, but whatevs.
Yeah,
I mean, she was kind of a bit part in Apocalypse, so are we really ready to give her the starring role in a Phoenix film? Like,
who else are you going to cast as Phoenix?
Well, no, but
there's been another one.
Just give these characters some growth and then do Dark Phoenix.
We're going to get into that a bit more. But,
yeah.
So, you and I briefly considered going to the theater to see this.
Yeah, I was thinking about that earlier. We were going to see this, and then we delayed our plans for a week, and Spider-Man Far From Home came out, and we said, oh, fuck it, we'll see that.
Yeah, which is the correct decision.
Yep.
But here we are.
You're probably a bit more of an X-Men fan than me, by a little.
Yeah, but in a way that doesn't jive with people. Most people, you say you're an X-Men fan, you're really into the 90s animated series, I think?
For my generation, at least.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm a little older. I started getting into the X-Men, popping them off of newsstands around 1987 and reading them from there, the Chris Claremont classic run, and a few years in, like, picking up, the trade paperbacks of Dark Phoenix and all of that. And
also, ironically, we're probably nostalgic about the same stories. Just you read them as comic books, and I read them when they were adapted into the animated series.
Yeah.
7 years later or whatever.
How much does The Brood come in?
They come in.
Okay, cool. I haven't seen the animated series. I just know the comic books.
Yeah, I mean, so, as I said on my Spider-Man episode, I had the lucky position of having an uncle who bought all the comics. Because he was living with his parents and working a full-time job and getting a foot-high stack of comic books imported from the comic shop every month. So I was reading all of X-Men, all of Spider-Man, Superman, Batman. So at the time, X-Men wasn't something that I sought out because I loved X-Men. They were just among the other comics I read. Although I did enjoy the animated series. I think I had a few action figures. I remember having a Juggernaut. I had a Cyclops costume, but I just used to wear the visor and say I was Geordie LaForge.
Okay, there's a secondary thing. I actually went rereading the Claremont run here. I thought I had read all of it. And basically I had read everything up through Days of Future Past, which includes Dark Phoenix. And I'd read everything from 2000 up, where Magneto actually takes on Xavier's role. I hadn't hadn't read much of the in-between ones, it turns out, although now I have. So
Okay.
I'm going to take that badge of now being a Claremont expert.
Okay, so yeah, my comics knowledge is mostly... I definitely have read a lot of that stuff, but I mostly read later, like when Whedon was writing, I think.
He didn't do it that long. He did a good job.
But yeah, but again, he didn't write comics, he wrote TV, which is the problem with a lot of more recent comics.
And I did come back on for a year or two when Grant Morrison was writing X-Men, because that was a pretty cool run.
I've heard that, but I don't think I've read much of it.
You like also
I love
Superman.
Grant Morrison. I love all Grant Morrison stuff,
Okay.
I just haven't read it.
So, that was a very nice run. There were some art issues, but the writing was fine.
But yeah, so I'd always been aware of and had something of a love for the X-Men, but it wasn't like I said, Spider-Man was my boy. After that was probably Superman and Batman maybe, but X-Men were up there. I enjoyed X-Men.
No, when I was in junior high school, I was waiting for my optic blast to start going someday.
Oh yeah, well,
I thought it would happen.
I was just thinking, judging up my options. Do I want to go to Xavier's? Do I want to go to Hogwarts? Ultimately, I think I prefer X-Men to Harry Potter, but you've got to choose Hogwarts because you might get a shit mutation.
Yeah, Xavier's a lot more dangerous. You could be that dude that has the bone spurs. That's not cool.
Like, there's no guarantee you're going to be one of the cool ones. You could just be that kid who can change channels.
No, they had that in the New Mutants. Cypher. Yeah. He was the guy that he could understand any language.
Oh yeah, I remember him. Yeah.
And then he got shot.
Yeah. So, but when I would say I became an X-Men fan was in the run-up and release of the first movie.
Right? That was, I spent like the 90s like pretending, like, thinking about who would be in the X-Men movie with that as an impossible option. And I just wanted, I mentioned a few moments ago, I was waiting for my optic blast to start blasting. Who after the year 2000 even wanted to be Cyclops? Screw that.
We'll get into this in this film, but Cyclops was my favourite as a kid. But he's always been done dirty because how do you make people like Wolverine? Make them hate Cyclops. Whereas in this film, the first X-Men film with no Hugh Jackman...
Apocalypse didn't have Jackman?
Had a cameo. They break
Weapon X, got it. See, another film I almost forgot.
Yeah, the first one without him in it at all. Even the two Deadpool films have like little jokey shots of him. And yeah, so finally, Cyclops is actually alright in this film. I liked him.
He does suck in the comics too once Wolverine shows up, but...
Yeah, exactly, but it's just because it's like, how do we make people like Wolverine? Stick over Cyclops. I like Cyclops.
Anyway, you said we had to delay this podcast a bit. There was a big typhoon and the train stopped running, and I have to actually walk 10 kilometers just to do this podcast. But, so you say you've forgotten the film already.
I mean, I exaggerate a bit.
I know.
But there's no... I don't remember any emotions. I don't remember... Maybe I remember feeling like, oh, that was a good fight. But there's no like, whoa, I remember that bit. Or even any, what the fuck was... It's just, I am watching a film.
Yeah.
A film is happening in front of me.
Honestly,
the film has happened now.
I did not see Apocalypse in the theaters, but I've seen it maybe 3 times now, and I can't remember anything about Apocalypse. So.
This and First Class are the only ones I didn't see in theaters.
Ah.
So yeah, X-Men, the first X-Men film, was it before Spider-Man?
Yes.
But yeah, that was essentially the start of the modern superhero film age, right?
Yeah, basically. We only had Blade before that.
Yeah, and then before that was like
Roger Corman's
But
Fantastic
Batman's.
Four.
I mean, there were
they're the
Batman's
yeah.
and, of course, Chris Reeve's
For
Superman.
Marvel, though,
But for Marvel,
this is
there was
the road.
nothing, right? And then this was huge. This was like the event film of the year. Yeah, so by X-Men 2, I was so hyped. I was 14 years old, went and saw X-Men 2 with my buddy, really excited, and then on the walk home, I kept trying to run around acting like Wolverine, jumped up a wall and fell over and broke my nose. And then, yeah, since then, watching the films made me get back into reading the comics, and now I would class myself much more as an X-Men fan.
Did the healing factor kick in?
No. Maybe that's when the breathing problems started. Is that my mutant power?
I can't breathe. On we go. In the past of 1975, young Jean Grey telekinetically murders her parents, or at least one of them, because she doesn't like classic rock playing on the car's stereo. In the future of 1992, the universally loved X-Men, with Jean Grey in tow, scam a spaceship in order to save a solar flare-threatened space shuttle. The X-Men save the astronauts, but find themselves under the glare of that same solar flare. Jean uses her telekinetic abilities to save them in a move that would surely kill her, but instead greatly heightens her powers. It takes just one swig of the alcohol out of Xavier's school kegger to prove that this experience has significantly altered dear Jean, and she goes off to find herself, I guess. First, she finds her father, who actually did survive that murderous classic rock car ride. He had given her up to Xavier. And when the X-Men show up, she expresses her displeasure by injuring Quicksilver and murdering that old standby, Genlaw Mystique. Next stop on the Magical Mystery Tour is Magneto's Mutant Island. He's a bit curious about the Mystique blood on Jean's shirt, but listens until the U.S. military comes a-looking for Jean. Even Magneto is not condoning Jean's telekinetic helicopter flipping, and Jean flies away. Now, Jean ends up flying away to New York City, where the creepy, shape-shifting ETs that have been lurking in the background of this movie convince Jean to join their club. They've been tracking down an absolute cosmic force that has taken residence in Jean from that ill-fated flight earlier in the flick. Meanwhile, Magneto learns from the Beast that the Mystique blood on Jean's shirt was authentic Mystique blood and becomes quite pissed off at that fact. Pissed off enough to head to New York City to kill Jean. Of course, the X-Men have also been on Jean's trail, and the X-Men and Magneto's forces have a bit of a soiree in the New York streets to have a crack at reaching Jean. Magneto makes it there first, where Jean smushes his head, made possible by Magneto's stylish metal helmet. With nods to young Nightcrawler, Xavier also makes it to Jean, who then teaches the paraplegic to walk again, painfully. X-Men fight, Cyclops blasts some optic blasts and bitches about love. But in the end, it is Jean who stops listening to the shape-shifting ETs, blasts herself into space, and heroically sacrifices herself before even having the chance to blow up a random planet of 5 billion aliens. But not before a bunch of X3-style trains, possibly trucks, power-stealing collars, and some X-Men mutant kung fu pyrotechnics. In the end, Xavier steps out of this game, the school renames itself after Jean, and a now happily blue Beast is the new headmaster. Continuity police, this is Exhibit A. Do what you will. You want to know something?
I really do.
You really do. I just did the synopsis, and that was the first time I was comfortable saying Magneto.
Magneto? You read it Magneto?
Yeah. I think it was like the 2000 X-Men movie. I was like, oh, it's Magneto.
It makes more sense, Magneto.
Because he's like a magnet.
Yeah, but I guess because I'd watched the cartoon before I'd ever read a comic book, in my head he's always been Magneto.
Yeah, it's just when it didn't seem right to me because he's like a magnet.
What's a Magneto? That's a line from the first film.
We'll get to that. Yeah, so do we just get straight into Jean on this? It's a character that we talk about.
Yeah, I guess we've got to. She's like the focal point of this film, and Sophie Turner's an okay actress, but they didn't do any groundwork to make me care about her.
They made Apocalypse, I guess?
But she is not in it that much.
I don't remember Apocalypse, as I said.
Like, they introduce, like, a young crew of mutants in Apocalypse, so we get Jean, Scott, Nightcrawler, a little bit of Storm. But they're not major characters.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird team at this point, which is basically because they're, like, halfway trying to pay attention to their continuity while at the same time flushing it all down the toilet.
Yeah.
I put in my notes, this line of X-Men makes 0 sense.
Yeah. Oh, bugger.
In terms of the comics, you want to say why you said bugger? That's worth a note.
I just dropped my ring pool into my beer.
There we go.
I'm going to slice my throat up at some point.
Yeah, it'll just be Matt, Sci-Fi Sanctuary. He can't talk anymore.
I'll get one of those things that, like, smokers have where they plug it into their neck, like, hello, my name is Luke.
Yeah, I am Luke. I want to talk about the X-Men. Man, if that's how you have to talk about the X-Men, that's what you do.
I was going to say, that's probably a bit ableist. We shouldn't do that.
I mean, if that's what
it's very X-Men.
Okay. Oh, shit, what was I saying?
This lineup of X-Men makes no sense.
This line of X-Men makes no sense. Oh, Dark Phoenix really can't be a movie.
Oh, yeah, it has to at least be like 2 movies, right?
It can't be a movie. It can't even be 2 movies.
Why?
I think they kind of felt like, okay, we had Apocalypse, it can be 2 movies. Here's the thing. I told you, I just reread the run
right.
of X-Men, and I had read that particular run several times, but there's the space shuttle incident where Jean tries to hold them all together and comes out of the way. She's Phoenix now, and I guess everything's fine. She actually kind of leaves the team, helps them out. There's 30 issues of Jean just kind of being around, sort of on the sidelines, sort of like Xavier. You usually can't put Xavier in the center of action because he can solve most
Every
problems.
problem too easily, yeah.
That was the problem with Phoenix. Phoenix was overpowered.
Right.
So she's pretty much nice old Jean for the most part, and it takes 30 issues with her helping out a few times, and once engaging herself with like the cosmic crystal of reality or something, which is I guess a deal too, but it takes quite a while. We get quite a lot of Jean Grey before things go off the rails.
Right.
Which you could never do that in a movie. You'd have to make like 5 movies.
Well, that's all. Superhero comics are very episodic. So the most villains suffer in movies because they have to appear, become their nemesis, and be defeated once and for all in one movie. Whereas like Green Goblin's a great villain because him and Peter have 60 years of comic book history, right?
But Doc Ock works out okay in Spider-Man 2.
By being utterly not the character from the comics.
Yeah, but it still works out. They play that in the movie.
I mean, Magneto's the one who works because they do bring him back.
Yeah, and even in the original X-Men, I mean, there's enough there to make him make sense.
Well, yeah, it worked in the way that Obi-Wan and Darth Vader work in the original Star Wars, in that they just hired 2 really good actors to imply all of the history.
You're right. But yeah, I just feel like the Dark Phoenix involves this getting great power, actually having a slow burn where you try to use your power to some good, you're a little worried about the power, eventually something trips you up. It takes a while for that to make sense.
Oh yeah, I would argue the same of Spider-Man's black suit.
Yes, definitely, that didn't work in that movie so well.
Yeah, they're trying to do a story which is meant to be... It worked because it's a background story while you do other A plots.
But the
and
black
it builds to be in the main.
The black suit just showed up originally to be a toy.
Oh,
Because Secret Wars.
Secret Wars.
The entire point of that line
was to launch toys.
Yes.
I know. It was the same change in laws, which pretty much went on to give us Transformers, where they made it, you now can make comics to sell toys.
Yeah.
So they're like, fuck it, Transformers, G.I. Joes, get them out the door, go.
I did read that in my run of X-Men comics, and it's pretty half-assed.
Yeah, I read it as a trade paperback, and it's...
And I just want to reiterate, the actual X-Men run and the New Mutants run of that period are really good.
Yeah.
They're better than pretty much any X-Men movie. Maybe Days of Future Past is pretty good.
Yeah.
I just watched that again. That was
Days of Future Past worked as a film.
Yeah. X2 works as a film.
Yeah, but, like, X-Men and X-Men 2 are good, but they're doing, like, real basic bitch X-Men stuff.
Yeah. And look, we're already starting to take a piss on this film because it's a film you piss on. But here's the thing: I'm probably gonna watch this several more times.
I can't tell you what I think about this film. Just please keep listening. I will. Like, is this a good film? Is this a bad film?
I think with the X-Men films, as each one goes, they make less and less sense, and the characters work less and less well, which we're finding at a maximum here. But the X-Men action does increase with each film. The X-Men action in this movie, when they're battling out in the streets, battling out on the train, that is some great X-Men action.
You're seeing characters use multiple different powers in multiple different ways to... my favourite fight was the fight where... some of them are trying to get Jean, some of them are fighting against Jean. The final fight I didn't like as much, because although the X-Men were doing lots of cool, interesting powers, they were fighting guys with boring powers. Whereas most interesting when you're seeing a whole bunch of different powers play off each other.
Right. You want to know what the first X-Men battle-on film that really knocked my socks off was?
X-Men 3, The Fight in the House.
Not The Fight in the House, The Fight in Alcatraz.
Oh, really?
Because... Shadow Cat, is she Shadow Cat in that?
Yeah.
She's using her power. That's what you said. Everyone is using their powers for different ends. Which X2 is a great movie, but it doesn't quite have that. And X3 doesn't work so well. I actually might give the nod to this movie over X3, Dark Phoenix being. But that Alcatraz battle just felt like, I'm actually watching the X-Men having a battle now for the first time.
Kind of, but then there was also just like they were throwing flaming cars, and it was just very...
They throw flaming cars in the comic books.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't know. It just felt like... I felt like the other fight earlier had better.
Yeah, I guess that was cool,
because it was
too.
just like a smaller scale, so you could watch everyone's interactions more.
Yeah, again, I'm coming from the reading the 80s comic books, and I feel like, you throw your flaming cars and you use your powers as a team.
Also, it has the great bit where, we're talking about X-Men 3 at the moment, but whatever, Magneto's like, no, the pawns go first. And stops the guy with the shittest power ever. Like, he's not a pawn. The guy with just the inch-long spikes on his body. Like, let that guy go and get himself killed. He's shit.
Well, let's lead that into the fact these X-Men movies have been now riding on 10 years on the fact, almost 10 years, that Jane McAvoy and Michael Fassbender and Jennifer Lawrence are freaking good actors. They're no longer in a good movie, but they're still good actors.
They, presumably, when X-Men First Class came out, which is... Is that the best X-Men film?
Not enough Jackman for me.
Oh, really?
I like Jackman.
But he was overdone in places.
It's
a good one.
It's a good one, no doubt.
They got Jennifer Lawrence was in there to play Mystique, and presumably because that's how way Hollywood works, she signed a three film deal. But that movie kind of ends like it could be. They just made that one, and it's a prequel to X-Men 1. Because she goes off with Magneto, Xavier fans, blah blah blah. Then, I feel like just after that, Jennifer Lawrence became the biggest actress in the world. And they were like, shit, we're rewriting the next two sequels to be all about Mystique. But then by this one, she's barely in it. So I feel like they just got her in for a...
It worked well in Days of Future Past, though, because Mystique actually is the villain in that, so that played well.
Yeah,
it's different. I know that, and it's fine, but, it should be Kitty Pryde going back in time, but it works. It's good.
They using Wolverine to bridge the two films was a really nice.
Yeah.
And she leads the X-Men now. Is that what Mystique does?
I literally don't remember what she does in Apocalypse. I don't remember her being in Apocalypse. I know she's in it. I just don't
she
remember.
She leads the X-Men.
Yeah.
She's like their Cyclops. Like, what? Because Jennifer Lawrence is a big actress. So
I think you pointed this out to me not so long ago that each X-Men film, if you take continuity with one before and after it, they work.
Yeah,
but if you take them as a whole, they're completely screwed.
But the McAvoy series especially, because they're set 10 years apart, but no one ages.
We were delving a bit, and you opened a can, man.
Yeah, no, I
You
feel
gave
like
me
getting you
shit
back.
for this. Anyway, we were delving a little bit into the actors. Let's delve a little bit deeper. Who do you want to talk about?
Well, I was watching this film with my girlfriend, and sort of halfway through the film, and I was like, this isn't as shit as I'd heard. I turned to her, I was like, is this good? And she's like, well, yeah, but not the acting. And I was like, oh, really? I hadn't really caught. But James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender are very good actors. And Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah, I mean,
But a lot of this film follows this young cast, not so tested, not such good actors, and who we are not invested in. And so you often see a big gulf in quality between the good actors and the new actors in this film.
I think they throw most of that onus, and who's the Beast? Do you know the Beast actor?
Oh, he's the kid from About a Boy, but I can't remember his name.
Anyway, he's great. I feel like they throw a lot on his shoulders because he's kind of an X-Men, but he's kind of with the old school or the first class folks.
Yeah.
He gets a lot to do here. A lot more than the Beast gets to do in this actual character arc. But I feel like they're like, okay, he's pretty good. He looks kind of young. He kind of fit, even though he's supposed to be like 40 at this point.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because he's like had a whole thing with Mystique in the previous ones and stuff. So him and Magneto have like a team up here.
Mystique can look young. She controls her look. McAvoy, yeah, okay.
I still think they should have just had him lose his hair slowly over the films, instead of having it happen as like a weird sci-fi thing in Apocalypse.
Yeah, it definitely runs raw that he visits Jean with hair in one iteration without in another, and looking much older. But I don't know. I guess you get good actors and you work with what you can. And these films are. Here's the thing, like you said, Sony is trying to get the most out of their. This
Sony
is
was
Fox.
Spider-Man, this is Fox.
You're right, this is Fox. Fox is trying to get the last sips of their property, so they don't give a shit about any continuity.
Yep. Talking of McAvoy being good, this is the best they've done of Xavier in the films so far.
Oh yeah, they don't even do this in the comics. They hinted at it in the comics, but
I know in other stories they do it.
This is where Xavier really realizes what a asshole he is, and quits because of it.
It's also interesting. This is the first time in the films we've seen the X-Men as like superheroes.
Yeah, they're loved, and they're always hated in the comics.
Well, it comes and goes, right? There are times when they're a bit
I don't
more...
think it ever quite comes, because even when they were like in their more happy-go-lucky phase, like no one really knew who they were. People were like, "Oh, are you the Avengers? No, we're the X-Men." And then they're like, "Oh." Later on, they have to. I think it comes out when
But
they.
like that whole initial Stan Lee run doesn't really get into the.
Oh, not at all.
I'm hating at all, right?
I'm kind of starting X-Men with the all new, all different
Claremont
thing, but they're kind of obscure, and then they need to. Since they started out as a government job, same as in the movie, so that does actually hold. Huh. They need to break into the Pentagon and erase all their files, which starts to peg them as terrorists. And then they need to save someone and break into like NORAD, which makes them look like terrorists again. So basically, in the mid '80s, the X-Men were seen by everyone as terrorists, which is the opposite here.
The animated series gets into that a lot, and that's the one I'm most familiar with.
Okay.
So in that, they are always hated the villains. But in this, you get a brief spell of them, oh look, Xavier's got what he was going for.
Well, I think the comic line is sworn to protect a populace that hates and fears them.
Yeah.
But that's not the X-Men at the beginning of this movie. They get to swag a spaceship out.
Yeah. But it worked well because it kind of It's like, again, well, partially just because it's something we haven't seen, right, in these movies, and I mean it cheats a little bit and gives you a like, no, look, they're happy, they're good, so now you should care when it goes bad for them.
Well, let's look.
But
where,
it does kind of work.
Let's look where it goes bad for them. In this movie, Jean keeps the spaceship together and saves everyone because Xavier basically orders her to do that.
Well, isn't that kind of the theme, right? In the reason the X-Men are beloved is because Xavier has pretty much just turned his back on mutant kind
Yeah, but in the
to
comics,
please mankind.
yeah, the point in the comics here is, I think Xavier's out of action when she does this. She makes the choice herself to do this to save the X-Men.
Right.
Not to save that. She's actually saving the X-Men and is sure to die and comes
Well,
back
that's
to Phoenix.
X-Men 2 did it that way.
But she didn't come back till X3 in that case, and she was straight up evil at that point.
Yeah, they skipped Good Phoenix.
Again, getting back to the point where she gets the powers and becomes like this overpowered superhero. That was the issue. You can actually look in like the letters columns where people are like, well, gee, Phoenix is so overpowered. How is this going to work? Like before Dark Phoenix happened. That's how it turns out, isn't it? Which is pretty genius from a writing standard.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe this is where it started, but I feel like that's a trope in like superpowered stuff now. Is when a character gets overpowered, you have to then they have like a heel turn to make it. To keep the stakes there.
Yeah, I know post-Crisis Superman was much underpowered. I think they've reversed all that, but...
They always cut his powers and slowly build it back up. But you can't really treat a Superman-esque power level the way you treat other superheroes. The story is not, will he save the day? Because you know he will.
But again, I do think a big thing in this film is in the comics, Jean sacrifices herself and gets the powers, where in this movie, Xavier basically orders her to do
She
it.
kind of makes the call, but he's
pretty pushy on that. So and that does, I mean, that's where you say Xavier's character arc works here. He makes that call and sees the consequences.
But then they also get into the stuff from X-Men 3 where he like messed with her mind and stuff when she was younger.
That's also in the comics, so.
Okay, but like he does... In X-Men 3, he kind of gets away with it.
He doesn't get away with it here.
He dies in X-Men 3, so maybe not, but... like Logan has like one line of like, well, that was shitty of you, and then that's it.
Yeah.
Whereas in this, like, people are like, Xavier, you're a fuck. What are you doing? Like,
I want to hit two more points just against the Jean here and the Jean in the comics. One being the Jean here, she thought she murdered both her parents. It turned out to be one, but she's really, psychologically screwed up because of her family life.
right.
In the comics, she has two living and loving parents and a living and loving older sister.
Yes. I can't remember Jean's sister.
She gets her... She's not much, but she's there.
Okay. Oh no, I'm thinking of all the clones.
Yeah. She gets her powers, she originally, not gets her powers, but recognizes her powers. Her friend gets hit by a car when she's like 13, and as the friend is dying from the car accident, like she goes into her mind for the first time. That's how Jean gets her powers in the comic.
Okay, that's
it's not
pretty
from like
dark.
murdering her parents.
Yeah.
And that's a big difference. I mean, she's pretty screwed up in this movie. She's cute, but she's screwed up.
Yeah.
I knew some girls like that in high school.
We all did.
But I feel like that's a big difference between the motivations. I mean, just where she's coming from is much more stable. So she's got the power and it's still corrupting her. Here, of course she's getting corrupted. She's already pretty screwed up.
But I mean, I guess if you're thinking we have to do Dark Phoenix in one movie, then that's a smart move.
Yeah, I guess. Again, I'm going to keep coming on as the farty old man who just likes that original comic line and thinks you got to do like a 30-episode TV show. Maybe like the animated series, which I didn't watch. But
Yeah.
I've been hitting comics. Hit me up. School me, man. Tell me about Dark Phoenix and the animated series.
It was a little faster than you'd like, but it was at least spread over like a 5-parter or something.
I watched I think they did in like 3 parts or something in a later animated, which I did watch. But
Right.
just for other old farts like me, can you give us a quick rundown? Do you remember?
I mean, I watched it in the 90s, Matt.
Okay.
I've listened to a podcast since, but
Okay.
yeah, if you want that, go listen to Days of Future Cast.
Okay, there's a plug. No one paid us to make that plug.
Nope.
Okay.
But it is good to listen to it. I like those guys.
I had one more Gene point. Where is it? Crap, I lost it. What do you have for me?
Oh, yes, we're getting off Gene for a second.
Soundtrack? Let's do soundtrack.
Oh, I was going to do Cyclops, but...
Let's do soundtrack first, because all I wrote is I felt like they nicked the Armageddon soundtrack, and you told me you had something to say.
Yeah, so I was listening to it, and I was thinking, whoever did this soundtrack watched Interstellar recently. This sounds like little hints of the Interstellar, like, emotional scenes.
It doesn't have all
It's
that...
Hans Zimmer. This is the first time I've ever heard a phoned-in Hans Zimmer soundtrack.
Yeah, okay, that usually does stand out.
But, like, that is pretty, like, symbolic of this whole film. Like, it's talented people and they're doing good stuff, but there's no passion, it's just...
Yeah. Do you want to get into Cyclops?
Yeah, I like I want to get in Cyclops' pants. As a kid,
Which
Cyclops was my favourite. I like James Marsden.
I was about to ask it was James, but...
I like him, he's alright. Yeah, so...
I like Cyclops in this movie, though.
Yeah, I was going to say, because he's not playing the square. If he's playing the role Logan had in X-Men 3, which is Jean's love interest, whereas, it's actually reciprocated here, so it's not just creepy and weird.
Well, he does get vaporized very quickly for that, doesn't he?
Yeah, but the line I love is when they get their one acceptable 12A F-bomb. Charles is there trying to give his speech, and Cyclops is just, if you hurt her, I will fucking kill you. It's like, yes, mate. Fucking have some passion, have some character, be someone. He's using his beams, he's fighting, he's doing cool stuff. But yeah.
He takes her to all the wrong parties, though. Just one swig of the stuff, and she goes nuts.
Yeah, well...
Reefer Madness style.
Yeah, I don't think he can be blamed for her being a lightweight.
Maybe they should have just had a Netflix and chill evening.
Or they should have just included a scene where we just see her chugging shot after shot and getting absolutely wasted. It is like she has she's had a cup and a half. That's too much beer. As if it's just been her just pouring tequila from the bottle all over her face.
But if the movie does make any bold choices, it's making a relatively likable Cyclops.
Yeah.
In the comic, he's your hero originally. He's the leader of the X-Men. He's
the Leonardo, right?
He doesn't really start to get screwed up until Jean dies.
Which is understandable.
Yeah, he quits, and then he's not quite the leader, and he's really not the leader, and then there's X Factor. Anyway, he does become a complete asshole in the comic books, and I believe that is his role now in the comics, even though I don't read them these days. But
but also a very understandable one.
No, in the second half of the 80s, it's very understandable.
Right.
I think now it's just he's an asshole.
No, but he's still he's the leader of the X-Men, and the X-Men has to deal with shit, so sometimes he has to do bad shit.
I think sometimes it becomes
again, we've not read
X-Men.
the most recent.
Yeah, we're not so recent, but I think he gets pretty weird these days.
Oh yeah, because then he apparently he's got a thing for telepaths because he just moves on to Emma Frost and stuff.
Right, but he gets completely mind fucked in the comics. So Jean dies, he kind of goes, he starts to get leveled out. Then he meets Madeline Pryor, who's a clone, the first clone of Jean Grey. He marries her. He has a child with her who turns out to be Cable.
Yes,
and,
who is also the best character in fiction. So
then he looks back. Then Jean comes back. He goes with her, and then they have a. I mean, of course he's an asshole. If you have to deal with that much, you're not coming out well in the end.
But then also he's got to lead. The X-Men who are constantly dealing with...
it's X Factor at that point.
Well, no, but throughout his life...
Those are the original X-Men, though.
Groups of essentially terrorists fighting the oppression of a minority group.
Have you read X Factor?
Some of it.
Their original conceit is that they were like Ghostbusters, like mutant hunters.
Ah.
That dropped after 12 issues.
I'm sure I have, but not much of it.
Yeah, it didn't work after 12 issues, but that was the original thing. Oh, they're mutants, but they're posing as mutant hunters.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought you meant they actually were. But no, I remember the whole... They pose as... Yeah, because then they help sneak dangerous mutants out and say they've killed them or whatever. But
okay.
Yeah, and then also I always liked the thing... The reason he's a master tactician is because part of his mutation is he instinctively understands the angles his beams will go.
Wow, I know that makes so much sense.
It's canonically a
no,
thing.
because he's doing his 8-ball, pool shots, and I was like, how does he know? Okay, that's
part
actually
of his mutation. And because of that, he's a master technician.
Holy crap! I just read the whole run. I didn't catch that.
I don't know when they bring it up.
Okay.
But maybe that's not till like 90s or 2000s.
Okay.
But yeah, that's why he's...
Well, hey, it retcons well.
Yeah. Yeah, well that's the best kind of introducing a new facet to a character.
So we've talked our Cyclops, we've talked our Jean, we've talked our McAvoy. Do we do enough Fassbender?
No. He has the actual best line of this film.
Hit me.
There's always a speech, Charles, but no one cares. Sorry. You're always sorry, Charles, and there's always a speech, but nobody cares. Which was in the trailer, and I was like, yeah, that's...
And in
good.
8 years, this guy is supposed to be...
Well,
Ian
it
McKellen?
works for him, because... I don't know what fucking age Michael Fassbender is. It's impossible to tell.
He's hot in this movie.
Yeah, but he's
I'm not gay, but he's
that
hot.
dad kind of hot, right?
Huh?
He's the dad kind of hot.
I guess.
Cyclops is like the teen heartthrob hot, and then Fassbender's like hot for teacher hot.
Okay. I don't know, whatever. Anyway,
McAvoy just comes across kind of skeevy.
we have such great actors in a sketchy movie, and Fassbender, I think that's why none of us can decide if Prometheus was good or not.
Oh, yeah, Fassbender is a great actor with terrible ability to pick what films he's in.
He's so good in Prometheus, but the movie's not.
No, I know. And, I mean, I haven't seen it, but presumably he's good in Covenant as well. Covenant?
And he's good in this.
Yeah.
I didn't really figure this out until I was actually looking at the wiki page, just kind of get all my stuff ready here. But that kind of sketchy island.
It's meant to be Genosha, right?
Yeah, I was like, today I looked at the wiki, I was like, it's supposed to be Genosha. I'm like, that's not Genosha.
Why are the Fox X-Men films so afraid of just calling things by their names? The aliens don't have a name. Genosha doesn't have a name. Half the characters don't get a mutant superhero
Sorry,
name.
the aliens, obviously.
No, we haven't even mentioned there's aliens.
That's because they don't matter in this movie.
Right,
They're just there.
I didn't know this film had aliens.
And an
until I saw
Oscar-winning
it.
actress as the leader who we haven't talked about yet.
They're boring as fuck.
Who wants to waste Jessica Chastain? Dark Phoenix. Speaking of redheads, she's not a redhead here, so she's...
I think from the trailers I thought she was Emma Frost.
That would have made
I
more
was like, yeah, Hellfire Club makes sense. Dark
Yeah, but
Phoenix
she'd have to be
story.
like 50 now.
Because they
She's
already
in-
did that in
Yeah.
First Class. But like, no, it's... So most of these cast are meant to be in their 50s and 60s, but they don't look it.
They're not Skrull, they're not Shi'ar, which would... Yeah, who are
I
they?
mean, they're kind of Skrulls, but not really.
I guess they're kind of Shi'ar. Okay, the Skrulls could shapeshift. The Shi'ar were searching for the Phoenix Force.
Yeah.
But then the leader of the Shi'ar was like in love with Xavier, so... it
They have
doesn't
like
quite
slightly
work.
stripy faces and they shapeshift, so I kind of thought Skrull.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a whole thing of like they had to deal with Marvel or something. They could have easily just not been aliens, and nothing would either be added or removed from
Like
the film.
in the comic, where it's
Right.
the Hellfire Club?
Yeah. Well, no, but like I guess because it's
But then
once you get into Dark Phoenix, you have the Shi'ar and everything. But that's because everything starts happening on a grand cosmic scale.
Right.
But still, here it's still just like small fights on trains. But for some reason, these guys are aliens.
Oh, that was the other thing I want to hit on Jean. Sorry, let's go back to Jean for a moment. Jean, never in the movies, but the whole thing in the comics is she destroys 5 million sentient beings and then becomes Jean again. That's the whole thing. She has the power to destroy a world. She's already done it.
Yeah.
In the movie, she never actually uses this power in
Yeah,
such
she
a
like
way.
kills like 3 cops and Mystique.
Yeah,
Or
that's-
she like
She doesn't kill 5 billion sentient beings.
blows up a house or something. But yeah, it's like she like briefly becomes Dark Phoenix, then goes back to Phoenix or whatever, right, for the trial.
Which is more than X3 did.
No, I mean in the film, in the comics.
Oh, right. She kills herself in the comics.
She like activates her gun and shoots herself with it or something.
That she knew was there. She was planning it the whole time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that makes her a hero, where X3 in this movie makes her a victim.
She kind of is a hero in this one. She at the end sacrifices herself,
Yeah,
kills
but...
the alien or whatever. But yeah, for most of the film, she's property which other people, which
Yeah.
men are fighting over.
But-
And in X-Men 3, even more so. And like Wolverine kills her for her.
Right.
Please penetrate me, strong man. Like,
But let's just paint a vista in the comic. It's the X-Men supporting her because they love Jean on that last mission. The X-Men get utterly defeated. the Phoenix powers coming back out, and she's planned the whole time that this is the moment she's just gonna blast herself. I mean, that's a hero move, which she just doesn't. I mean, that's a planned move too, you know.
Yeah. Here it's at the last minute. She just decides, oh, I'm just going to grab this thing and fly up into the space and explode.
Again, that's where you need a very long story arc to really make the Dark Phoenix tale work.
And that's also, it works because you'd had decades of comic books to show that Scott and Jean and the X-Men love each other and are
you
a family.
haven't had that many decades when it came out, though, because X-Men was offline for like 5 years, so there wasn't that much. They just,
more than half a film.
Okay,
we had
more
like
than half a
the
film.
latter half. Well, even in X-Men 3, X-Men and X-Men 2 had a small core cast of X-Men. So at the time of X-Men 3, we cared about Jean, Cyclops, Wolverine, Storm. They were...
But she just comes back straight up evil.
Yeah,
She's never particularly good.
No, but they'd had 2 films of her being good Jean, so everyone was like, wasn't willing to accept that Jean wasn't still in there, right?
Right. Okay, 2 more small thoughts. Med Lab scenes in X3 and Dark Phoenix, I actually confused them in my mind.
You
One's with
mentioned
Beast.
that to me, but I don't think the Med Labs are that similar.
Yeah, okay. Other one, Nightcrawler?
Yeah, why is he got those like scars that he's drawn all over himself if he's just a happy-go-lucky
Yeah,
teen?
otherwise I like Nightcrawler here, but I was wondering why
This
those
is
were
closer
there.
to comics Nightcrawler, right? He was
Except
never
for the
that grim and
scars.
brooding. Yeah, exactly. The scars make no sense. I don't think whoever did his makeup in this film understood why he looked like that in X-Men 2. They just looked at a photo.
I'm going to ask a question straight out of your notes. My notes? Your notes. No, they're my notes. Is it better when the X-Men fight evil mutants or external threats?
To me, the X-Men work best when it's just mutant stuff. Not necessarily fighting mutants, so I like it when they fight Sentinels, or they fight, the government. But it has to, it's a story, right? It's about something.
You don't want them to fight the Molecule Man or
No.
Galacticus.
Okay, let's talk about the real villains in this movie. The MCU. So, well, literally at one point, because the guys who arrest them all have MCU written on their uniforms. I guess it's like mutant containment unit or whatever. But right, this film exists because the MCU is a monolith. And
Well,
Fox is like, oh, we've got the X-Men, we should pump out movies.
It came out like Fox was like, while it still could.
We've got to pump out these X-Men's. And then, yeah, so now Marvel... Well, Disney owns Fox, which is terrifying because...
They do?
Yes.
That is terrifying. Okay,
Yeah.
move on.
Like, 90% of the films that come out in America are Disney at this point.
Remember, everyone, your media comes from 4 giant companies in Matt and Luke's Sci-Fi Sanctuary.
Is independent. So support our Patreon.
Which we don't have. At the
Let's
time.
not have this conversation again.
No, if it's in the future. Okay. Where are we? MCU.
Yeah, so I don't think I want the X-Men in the MCU. I think the X-Men work best when you pretend the rest of the Marvel Universe doesn't exist.
I think that's right, but what if you just punk rock them? That's what the '80s X-Men were. They once they were more included in the, because X-Men for the first 20 years were basically divorced from the MCU.
But that's because the MCU was less of a thing at that point.
Right.
You had occasional crossovers, but...
It worked well for about 10 years, but the X-Men became more, punk rock, like Storm got a mohawk.
Yeah. Well, you have a bit of that in these films. But...
Would that work? If we put the X-Men in the MCU as like this kind of screwed up punk rock group?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean...
Think about that.
I think it will work because the MCU are good at making films about characters with actual stories and stuff.
Right.
But I like the X-Men when because it's about something. It's a metaphor, be that for racial inequality or homosexuality or whatever. It's about a thing, and it works because you don't have to do all these superhero origins. It's just, Yeah, they're just mutants. So here's stories.
What if we throw in Tom Holland's Spider-Man, who seems to actually be the point man of the MCU now, moving on?
Yeah, which
was
that
was a near miss. But let's throw him in with a bunch of people about his own age who are completely psychically screwed up with their great powers, fighting an external threat. Does that work?
Yeah, it works. It doesn't not work. It's just, I feel like it's a waste of the X-Men to have them fight, Dr. Octopus or whatever.
So you're looking at the X-Men as always being a metaphor in the 60s and 70s civil rights. They moved on to gay rights. Where are they on to now? I think they're on to something past gay rights.
I guess it would be trans rights now, which makes the most sense.
Yeah.
Like, they haven't really had the balls to do that recently. But
the point is that X-Men have typically been a metaphor for civil rights. It doesn't have to be
so explicit, right? But it's about mutants, and it's about they're hated by the people they protect and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And there's so many good stories in that just throwing in, here's a random alien. Well, throwing in a bunch of aliens feels stupid and boring.
No, it didn't need to happen in this movie.
Do.
You could even still have Cosmic Dark Phoenix and leave out, the Chastain aliens.
Right. Like, that's why Magneto is one of the best villains in comics. 'Cause is he a villain?
Well, again, we mentioned Secret Wars.
Is he the hero of these stories?
When he's beamed in on Secret Wars, he's actually put on the hero side.
Yeah.
Which, that's probably the best part of the whole thing.
Yeah. Like, Magneto, well, I'm often more inclined to agree with Magneto than Xavier on a lot of things.
What's MLK and Malcolm X in the end, isn't it?
Oh, exactly. Well, no. It's what white people think MLK and Malcolm X are.
Especially in the late 70s.
But, like, people have this idea that Martin Luther King was, like, super peaceful and polite, but no, he was still very fucking angry with that system. He just knew how to get what he wanted through different means. But
apparently, it's a hell of a pool player. But
people have this like conservative spokesmen like to use this idea of like Martin Luther King was polite and no, the discourse shouldn't be full of anger, blah blah. Like, no, shut up. Martin Luther King was furious.
Yeah. I guess I'm pushing more the other end though with Malcolm X. And Malcolm X, he's hardcore, but shortly before he died, and possibly the reason he was off is he was starting to chill out. Like Magneto.
Yeah. But Magneto has very righteous anger. Like, he lashes out because of the fucking Holocaust.
Yeah, he was in the Holocaust.
But then, even in this film, he uses violence when he has to. But he's learned to focus it.
And when he sees ridiculous violence, like the helicopter flip, that's when he sort of gets cold feet.
Yeah. Yeah. In this film, explicitly, Magneto is more heroic than Xavier.
Oh, yeah.
Xavier is pretty much the villain of this film.
But he's a bastard in most of the comics, too.
Yeah. Well, that's why I said this is the first film that did Xavier.
So you could make Patrick Stewart a bastard. You can't not like him.
Yeah.
Even when he screws up, he does screwed up stuff in those movies, but he's the hero, right?
Yeah.
Whereas McAvoy is perfectly fine to...
Has Stewart played a villain?
Is he villainous in Dune? I don't remember.
He's not a major role anyway, right?
He's weird in Dune.
I need to watch that.
He's got hair in Dune.
Right, so mild spoilers for Logan. Skip ahead a minute if you need to. So at the end of Logan, that bad, the clone of Logan turns up and kills Patrick Stewart.
Right.
When I was first watching it, I didn't initially read that was a different Logan. So my read of that scene was Patrick Stewart remembered what he'd done when he killed the X-Men. And Logan had just been waiting all this time so that Patrick Stewart knew why he was killing him.
Oh, that's pretty true.
That would have been such a better ending.
Man, that was a dark movie.
But that would have been way darker and a good character. But no, it's just... They threw in a clone for no reason just so there could be a villain to fight at the end.
Yeah. Let's look at Dark Phoenix here. Okay, Logan, I think pretty much everyone would say that is a better movie. I don't imagine myself actually watching it again.
I'd watch it one more time, maybe.
Maybe.
But every 10 years, I'll be like, I want to watch the X-Men series, and I'd end with Logan.
But it's
not like, I'm going to chuck Logan on because I want to see some X-Men powers and some fighting.
This movie is not as good as Logan. It's not as good as most X-Men movies, but I'm going to watch it a few more times. A few nights ago, I went through my case, and I saw... what's in Japan, Wolverine Zero, X-Men Zero, right? The Wolverine Origins. And I was like, no. I don't
Yeah.
think I'm going to watch that again. But I'll watch this again.
That's another possible contender for the month of films we hate.
Yeah. But I'm going to watch Dark Phoenix and Apocalypse a few more times. I can't see myself throwing on Logan, as you just said.
Yeah. But, I mean, even with this one, I might not watch the whole film, but I could see myself just fast forward into that, like one or two of the good fights.
No, I will watch the whole film.
Fun powers, zip zap zoo.
I actually watched Apocalypse like 3 times.
I liked Apocalypse.
I like this a little better than Apocalypse, to be honest.
Yeah.
Now, this is, like comparing turds, basically, but they're turds that smell good to me.
Apocalypse had a better villain.
Yeah, Apocalypse.
Apocalypse is pretty cool. Better than these freaking alien things.
But maybe is Xavier the villain here? Then he's
in which case a good villain.
Yeah.
But
so,
then...
It's just, I think you said to me, you watch an X-Men film, you want to see X-Men stuff, and Dark Phoenix delivers on that.
Yeah. I mean, there are definitely bits where it feels like this movie was written with a higher budget than it was eventually filmed with. The fights are all shifted to nighttime. They're like, there's never that big a set piece in a public place or anything. But it worked. I had fun with it.
Yeah, it hit my X-Men butts. There's so many things to complain, and there's so many things where it just didn't work. But I don't know. It still entertains me. Logan is a fantastic film, which I can't watch.
Well, this is my Terminator 2 argument last week. I like Terminator more. I like Terminator 2 more, but I still think Terminator 1 is a better film. Logan is a better film, but maybe I had more fun watching this one.
Yeah. I don't know. Honestly, I'm down both ways as Terminator, but I will go with the Logan Dark Phoenix sort of comparison.
I just want to say one more thing.
Oh, one more thing.
They totally wasted the 90s setting.
Except
for the most part, this film could be set today.
Xavier's wheelchair is very 90s, and I liked it.
Yeah, but the X-Men's costumes were not 90s X-Men costumes. They were 60s X-Men costumes.
They were awesome.
Yeah, but if they'd leaned into the 90s multicolored X-Men uniforms, it would look great. Storm in the white and Cyclops in the blue and Jean in I guess she wouldn't be in the green yet because that's Phoenix. So yeah, just everyone
Marvel Girl wore green too.
Okay, just everyone in funky Marvel colours would have been great. But then they also, it's like, oh, here's the X-Men film set in the 90s. What music will it have? Generic shit movie music, not the X-Men theme.
We need a few video arcades. That's what we needed.
Yeah.
I guess that's our thought. We don't. I mean, it just came out. We don't know what to think here. So
you can find us on Twitter at MLSFS7. We're also on Facebook. Search for Matt and Luke's Sci-Fi Sanctuary. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes or however you listen to your podcast. Make sure you give us a 5-star rating and a review.
5.
Apparently that helps. You can find Matt making music at
rovingsagemedia.bandcamp.com.
You can find me on Twitter at Buskalily. I do a Pokemon podcast. It's at Luke Loves PKMN on Twitter.
This has been Matt.
This has been Luke. Get the fuck out of our sci-fi sanctuary.
Damn you all!